pull off our nuts. Hopefully we can get them off. Day 3 on this Baja front end, not rebuild, actually finishing. And for the most part, we got the panels in, it boxed in, and I think that's gonna do it. I will come back and kind of fill in some of these little gaps I left still, but I want to move on because all that's kind of boring. We got like 2 more days to get a video out to you guys, so I'm gonna press on, move forward, try it into something else, but we're going to try to build a front bumper for this. So we're going to mock back up our front of our Baja to see where it should land. And since I don't have a tube bender or means to access one, some pre-bent piping that I already had lying around, it's not that thick of walled. You know, this is going to be more aesthetics. Maybe it'll help protect it a little bit, but really we just want to build like a little stinger. So my plan is, this is not going to be the proper way to build a bumper, but I think it's going to come out pretty decent. Is we're going to use this pre-bent, get some straight pipe, and weld them together. Maybe sleeve it inside so it is a little more durable. But I think we're going to come out just about right here to build a little stinger bumper on it. Maybe some supports down. Going to play with it a little, but I want to make it removable because our nose piece goes on and off, and it's not that easy just to get it out if we weld this directly to our horns. So our goal is going to be possibly and hopefully, and the plan is using the toe bracket to build off of it. I'll show you what I mean. So if you ever seen in our last videos here, a long time ago, we bolted on the Super Beetle tow bar bracket, basically so you can flat toe it. Traditional bugs with the I-beams, it clicks in. It's super simple, but this, for the Super Beetle, you need this adapter plate, I guess you want to call it. And it's got these little tabs that stick out. That's where the bar goes in. So the plan is, since this is pretty thick, heavy duty, is building some brackets off of these bolts. You know, maybe like a flat piece of steel that comes down here. You know, I think from there to there, bolts on, and then we have a plate to weld on and build off of there. That way it's removable at any time. We just take these bolts off and we can get our front end off, do whatever we need. We basically can get back to this stage. Truthfully, the honest and easiest way would be just to weld it right to the frame horn, hammerhead looking thing on the front of this. But I want this to kind of be more of a long-term thing, so it can be removable, whatever. So we're going to start with mocking up some brackets here, looking for some steel that we can build, and we have to avoid, because there's a hump right there, and I don't want to try to weld up and around it, so we're going to have it come back down there and probably just squared off, so we have a nice platform over this sway bar. That's the goal. And then using our pre-bent that I have randomly sitting around as the tip, and then we just add some piping to it. Again, this is definitely no strong structural thing, more for looks and maybe protect a couple things, most of that front of that fiberglass, keeping stuff from just completely destroying it. All right, let me show you what I found, and I think we can make something work here. I have these old like shackle brackets, and pretty sure that's the same size hole that our bolts are, and you could tell it's pretty well welded on there, but we could cut this off. This is some thick 1/4-inch steel. So I was thinking cutting this off, using this as our, bolting this on, using kind of as our base plate. You know, I found some super thick tubing, but bolted in and having that kind of just welded like that, you know, using that as the base. And then our back two bolts will run a second bracket off of there. So we'll bolt, what I was thinking is using what we have. Once we cut these off, we can then drill some holes for this, put it there, and so we'll have a hole here, and we can run a secondary one that kind of supports it right there. It might be one of those things that I'm going to just do, and you'll start seeing it come together slowly. So what I want to start is the first big part of the stinger. So I want to get these bolts off, get these cut, and go from there, because yeah, this is going to take some time cutting these out. They're so thick. And then you can see I found what I have of some straight bar, some curves. We really don't need much because I'm not making it super tall, just a smaller one. And once I get those bolts off, we're going to have to mock up our nose again so we get an idea of how big we're going. So let's get going. Let's cut this stuff, get some of the things prepped, and start mocking up the idea that is floating in my head. Just got to set this up in our little vise. Really need to put a bigger vise on this workbench. It's all a little hot. Now we're going to mock up and see how much we need to trim off of here so to fit on our bolt. But first, let me get those bolts off, and we're going to try it out. 5/8 of grade A. And I want this washer off because we're going to use the bracket as the new washer, or at least it's going to go under it. Yeah, I figured. So I'm thinking something lines either this direction or that direction. I'm thinking this way because then our bar could plate right there and stick out a little bit over. So we're going to kind of go like that. I'm going to start by cutting off. Nowhere near accurate, but I think actually that might do it. So I'm going to cut this, see if it fits, and I'll be back. All right, so it's not the prettiest. So it's actually not too bad. I was trying to keep as much material on the back end of the bolt just because it needs all of it could get. Looks like I actually need to trim just a little right here because there's a little bump where the sway bar goes through and it's hitting that, so we can't get it flush. But there, that's our start of our bracket, and our tubing fits nicely there. We can still get a nut on there and everything we need. Basically, this little corner right here is my goal. And then once we weld that around, we'll just trim all this up, make it nice, and go from there. And like I said, our next thing would be we're going to build a tube out here, tube there. So it's all supported, but this is going to be our start right there. So I'm going to get this trimmed up, mock up the second one to match this one, and we'll go from there. But so far, that's what we got. It's not pretty, but I think some trimming and we'll be looking pretty. All right, I got that second one cut and bolted on already. We're going to get this one. That side came out a lot nicer than this one from learning from my mistakes. So we're going to get that on nice and tight. And semi-squared off, but we're not worried because we're going to be cutting that out anyways. So now it's going to be figuring out how long. Also, we need to get that front end put on so we don't go too far back or too far forward to make it look goofy. So I'm going to work on getting the nose on, and that'll be a whole process on its own probably. That's all I needed. Now we're going to mock up where our bend is going to sit, and then measure from that off to find out how long our bars need to go down. Yeah, see what I'm talking about? I want it kind of like right there, somewhat close to the front of this, and this is going to get pulled back just a little more. So I'm going to do about a finger's width because that's going to land us nicely right here. And so what I'm thinking is just going to be trying to do the math, because if we do, what's the angle from flat to there to then equal this angle? And I don't know where my angle finder is because I want it just above the license plate so you could still read it. And it's also going to have to be at a interesting angle. What I want to do first, I think, is I'm going to get some more pipe. We're going to butt weld this together and then cut it off here. That way we have, see, that's a little bit bigger of an angle, but that means, yeah. So then we're going to weld it to the shorter end to make it longer, which you don't do this. But again, like I said, this is how you don't make the bumper, but this is also how you make a bumper. Okay, with what you have. So yeah, I'm going to butt weld these together, lob off that 90, and then see how much I need to extend this one and go from there. Because this is pretty much the longest, straightest piece I have. So I'm going to start by beveling both ends, getting them cleaned up. So they're pretty true. Honestly, just make sure both pieces are flat on there. Get some of our magnets. Probably that one just comes up just a little. All right. So I got it like jigged up. I'm going to throw some tacks on it and then go ahead and weld all the way around. Let's grab the welding junk. I got it nicely lined up, I think. But we will find out once we finish this up. Okay, and then let's just grind it down, and hopefully it'll look like it never was there. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no butt weld there. Yeah, we're good. It'll work. We're gonna mock it up on our bumper. Probably have to add some to this side. I'm going to see how much we can cut off over here. So I'm going to put it where I want it. Right there. Okay, so we're going to add another foot to this side. Let's find some of our straight pieces. All right, guys. I'm going to do another sinful thing and butt weld this side. Get it all cleaned up. And then I'll bring you back to when we're actually going to be cutting and figuring out our angle to mount it to our new brackets. I think they're pretty even bends now looking at it. No, this one's just longer, so it's going to look not bent right. Okay. There is our triangle. We're not worried about those. We just know that this and this are going to be equal. And yeah, that's what I was looking for. Where our Hoonigan license plate is showing, we can get a good platform on our brackets, and then we're also going to have to tilt it outward just slightly. Yeah, I'm digging that. Let me grab some of my magnets, see if we can get this to hold, and tape. All right, so I got the bumper mocked up with some tape and those magnets and just trying to get it squared up and aligned with our front of our nose. The holes on the nose are definitely not in the center, so I wasn't going off of them. More of the center of that black plastic strip there. And then lining it up with those brackets that I made, bolted down to the frame horns or the tow bar, whatever you want to call it. So basically now it's just going to be measuring to make sure both sides are the same length, and I'm going to be cutting them at the angle that I marked with my Sharpie. So I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. I think I figured it out. Your speed square is probably your best friend in just about anything. You can find almost anything with it, including angles. So these are our degrees, and where I started was putting it flush up against there, kind of making sure it's nice and squared in with the piece. Bring it down to where I made the mark, and then as you see, there says a pivot point, right? Trying to get a good angle. So it's sitting in there squared up with the tube, and now I'm just going to pivot till it lines up with this tape, and it's looking like we're at 60 degrees right there. So now I can come over to this side, and I'm going to match it just to make things easy. So yeah, there we go, 60 degrees, so it's right on the money. Both our tape marks. So yeah, they actually look pretty well lined up. So if I cut that, I should get some straight cuts. So basically just using these, you stick it on that pivot point, moving it, that's giving your angles, and then you're just going to draw from this line here. We have our degrees set to 30, our line lined up with our saw. Now I'm just going to come over here, drop this thing so we can get it zeroed. Nothing moved. I'm going to cut this bad boy real quick. Which I make. Look at that. So here's our original 30 degree. And we were off by like a fraction of a degree with our guesstimating. And that looks pretty good. Man, I couldn't even. Maybe a little bit off of this end. I can't tell. Let's get this on the card, see how it looks. We're going to trim off the front part to give it another bevel. And we're going to sort that one out so that way it sits flush. So we got to come in here now and cut it. Oh boy. Cut it this way. All right, let's see what we got to trim up. A lot. But that's why we cut it a little big. So I'm going to get the grinder out. I have the grinder out. We're going to get the flap disc out. I'm going to start just slowly breaking it down until I think we find our right angle. Here's our plates, our ground down angles. And I think that is going to do it. I want to, yeah, I'm going to notch out the back slightly so we can get this pushed back a little bit more. I don't see why this won't work. So let me get my marker just because these frame horns here are kind of pushing into it, and I want to set it back just slightly. So this way that is more flush. So I'll grab my marker. Just tack this on really well. Pull it all off, weld all the way around. It looks pretty even. So now we're going to pull off our nuts. Hopefully we can get them off. And get this thing fully welded. We'll put little gussets. I'm going to show you all of that in a sec. Wow. All right. So now let's get this all welded up and see how she looks. That's exciting. So you can see I had those little notches for the frame horns, but we can get a good weld. And then I'm going to fill in right here with a bracket just to help support it and have more girth. That's what we're going for. Oh, I'm going to weld this, fill it, be done. Maybe put a gusset in here, and then when we come back, it's going to be on the bug. We're going to see how it fits up. I finished it up for the most part. We got some gussets on there. I'm going to show you that bumper in just a sec. But I did cut off some more of our brackets, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these. But you ready? Let's check out my front stinger bumper. Yeah, I bet these gussets in here are going to hold some dirt and stuff, but I just wanted to make sure it's really stable. So next is kind of what I was talking about, using these back bolts now. I still had one other set of those like leaf spring bracket things. So I cut them off, and I'm really liking that I could probably shave down the back end of it here, and we can bolt it on just like this. So it'll sit there, and then we can run these pipes off of there and kind of whoop up to our stinger, kind of giving us some more support. So if that sits kind of just over the sway bar, this will cut down and then bring it right up. And there you go. That's kind of what we'll do. We'll do another one on this side. So that way, this, because as you can see, it's just going to bend. I mean, there's only one bolt supporting it. Once we get bolt down, I mean, it's definitely super thick steel, so I'm not too concerned. But, you know, I want to make sure it's secure. So we're going to start on that. We're going to have to C-notch. We're going to have to notch some pipe, and we're going to have to come up with another weird kind of angle. So either I do just a straight angle and we come straight up with it, or I triangulate it over kind of like that, or we just come straight up. So we're just going to see, because the straight up and down will be the easiest, because these brackets do go over a little. And so I'm going to get these ground down. We're going to get these nuts off here, see how much we need to grind down off of these so they can bolt in, and then we're going to start playing with some pipes. All right, I just cut the curved end off of these, and I kind of just guessed, and whoo, those are perfect. Well, almost. Okay, that one's perfect. So you can see where I'm going now. This is going to sit there. We can now weld to this, to the top of this. This one's going to need a little more trimming. Maybe they fit the other way around. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Just flip them. So now we have our brackets here and here. So we're going to go from this point up to our bar to give it a little more rigidity. So I'm going to go search for that, grab something that we can brace that with. I'm going to kind of just guess our angles and see what we got. All right, I found this piece. It's definitely a small, oh man, maybe like a 1/2 inch. Let me see. So yeah, this is like 1 1/4 inch pipe, but I have about 9 inches, or total 18 inches of this, and I can cut it in half with 9, and I think it's going to work really well. It's definitely a thick. Also, I kind of want to go with this, thinking of it, because our platform here is small. We don't have a lot of space to work with, so this smaller tube is going to fit in there nicely. Plus, it's thick and heavy duty. So I'm going to cut this in half and start sorting out our angles. Whew. Some thick stuff, and it went right through it. Man, I think I'm just going to kind of go for it. We're just going to cut them at 45s and see where we land. So we're going to use the saw again and set it to 45. Lop off a 45 angle on these and then see where we go from there. It is a different day, same clothes, because I don't want to do more laundry than I have to. But this one, the Stinger front end, is pretty well on there. I'm working on these triangular supports out of smaller steel, slightly thicker, and it's just trying to get those weird angles in here, grinding and cutting. Like, it's just like everything else with this. It's not a perfect 90. So as you know, I cut the 45 here, and this is just some weird angle. So it looks like I need to take more out. When we set it up there, it's definitely still hitting on here, so we got to kind of make a cut into that. So I'm going to work on this, bring you back once I get it somewhat fitted, and then we'll get it tacked on and then burn the rest of this in, and that'll do it, hopefully, so far for this front bumper. Maybe I'll add some more to it, but right now I want to get that in so we get a little more support and push on there. Cool. Man, so much more grinding left. This is our passenger side support. It's going to be sitting flat like this, and when it's pushed up against there, this bottom part, since our tube is coming up, kind of, let me turn around like this. So this little piece here is hitting. So I'm going to come in here, and oh, somebody left their lid off their Sharpie, and it's no good. All right, I think for the most part, it is now fully welded. There was a couple gaps I had to fill just because I don't have a tube notcher or anything to really get precise cuts. So a lot of just grinding and fitting and grinding. But for the most part, I think we are set. One thing I was going to point out is I had to cut down the pipe on this when I had it too close to the hole, so no nut would actually fit. So we had to cut it, re-weld it, but that's not a big deal. So now we have it set up. I don't think it twisted too much on us. I can kind of see that these ones flex just a tad, but I think once we bolt it down, it's going to hold it up really well. So I want to get it back on the car to make sure our holes are lined up and everything before I grind it and clean it all up. So that way if I have to cut it, I'm not going to waste my time. So I'm going to get this back on the car and see how she fits. So we got the bumper bolted down, cleaned up, ready for paint. We got a little bit more grinding to do down on these supports. They're touching the sway bar just slightly, so I might hit it a little bit more. This driver's side bracket part, the washer doesn't seat all the way, so I'm going to grind a little of the weld down so it'll be flush. But I got it bolted on, so let's see how it holds up. I'm just going to go for it. All 200 pounds. Yep, that is on there. So, whew, you can sit on it. The bumper is built. Now it's just painting, cleanup, and final touches on this front end, and that should wrap up most of it. So I'm going to jump on that, get everything painted. I'm going to get this part cleaned up and painted as well. Make sure I weld anything that needs to be welded, and then we'll bring you back to when it is finally done. But I like it. That's kind of what I wanted, and especially just making it out of metal that I had lying around. Some tubing, pre-bent already, some other tubing, and some old brackets that haven't been used in forever. Pretty happy. Definitely could have spent a lot more time and a lot more money on it, but for a 3-day project of a couple hours a day, this isn't too bad, and not having a tube bender or notcher. So it's doable, people. One welder, a grinder, and I was able to get this done. So I'm going to get this off, get everything painted and finalized. Next day for our bumper build, I took the time and got it all painted up the night before because that's not fun watching. So now this thing is painted black with some glitter paint because it looks good. We did glitter paint on the engine, so now we got some black glitter paint on our Stinger. Obviously knowing that this is going to get scratched up, but it'll look good for the first time on here. And it fits really good. So we're going to get this bolted on. We're first going to get our nose piece back on because we've got the whole front done. In our last episode, we got this all built up and done. So now I went through and coated the whole thing with the chassis paint just so it's sealed off and not going to rust. So I think it looks pretty decent. All black before it was very crappy looking. So we're good to put this back on. I think this is all finished up. And inside now, you know, it's all sealed off. which is awesome. It's very functional in the sense. And so, yeah, we're going to get these front nose on, bolted on, and then we'll get the bumper on and then show you the final product. All right, so we got it bolted on, at least the front nose piece on how we have it mounted and designed. So you have the 4 up here, and then we just went ahead and drilled some holes real quick and put some screws and bolts through there. That way it's a little more secure. And then down at the bottom, there's this little bracket. This was an access panel for your shifter stuff. If you've never seen that before, this comes undone, and then you can access inside. And there's this tab that just was randomly here. So it just bolts on to this extension of our fiberglass nose. Real quick, I don't think we've talked too much about the front of this, but obviously this was from a standard bug-eyed Baja, and it's what? I think that's like 3 inches narrower than a Super. So when we did all this, we had to cut this down the center, and we extended it and used some ABS plastic riveted to it, and it's actually a pretty good permanent solution. Maybe if we ever get the chance, we'll come in here and fiberglass and fill it, but for now it doesn't look.
Yeah, we always talk about that, and the more like I look at it, it's kind of a part of its personality.
I like it.
And I kind of like it.
That's it. So basically, if you find a kit like this, you just cut it and extend it and then filled it. So down here, that's what's bolted on, is the ABS plastic part is actually bolted down to the bottom of the bug. And truthfully, it makes it,
I mean, that's on there,
really secure. So I have no concerns ever on this. And now that we even got the sides on, like that's even just extra strength. So there you go, bug eye. You just have to cut it, widen it, and I just filled it with some plastic. So now comes a piece that we've been waiting for, and the final look is the bumper. And I've mentioned before, what I did was just use the existing bolts that were holding on our tow bar down here. These we did upgrade to like a nice grade, I think almost 10 bolt. So therefore, you know, it doesn't.
Yeah, when you're getting it pulled by it.
Yeah, we didn't want nothing to happen.
Worth splurging.
Yeah. And for the most part, none of this worked too bad to where it all kind of just goes in. If I just have to kind of push that over. Actually, this side pull it. So done it a dozen times building it. So, but then, okay. So we get it there, and then I'm gonna get these back bolts in, which I think I have enough space. But these we're gonna go downward. Okay, so that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think I demonstrated it earlier. I was actually standing on this. I don't want it, because with this I want to fall into it. Something stupid now that'll happen. But as you saw, I was actually standing on this and jumping on it earlier, and it is good. And then we could see Daniel now with me, you here. You could see how much this one is moving. And then go over to this side. And this one is a lot more, has rebound to it, but the other side does not. But yeah, that's not going anywhere. It's pretty solid. It flexes a little, but like I said, this was going for more looks than practicality, or more looks than function.
Yeah, it'll be better than not having one on there. And like I said, even with that, even if you do hit a jump that hard,
there's more issues.
Straight on. Yeah, I mean, we'd worry more about like these guys hanging down and some of the stuff there, which we do have some plans for that. So, but yeah, I think it looks awesome.
I'll go grab the tow bar real quick and we'll double check clearances, because I kept saying it'll be fine, but now I'm like, so I'll go grab that. We're gonna mount it up and see, but I'm pretty happy with our little Stinger style bumper that kind of fits in really well.
No, yeah, I think it looks,
for building it out of scrap and piecing it together, pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna go grab that tow bar. We'll come back, have it on there, and see if we have clearance. Ups, down. I didn't look at it at all. There we go. Okay, and it being on my truck, but look, I mean, we've got. It fits perfectly. Look.
Oh yeah.
So if we ever needed to, like, drive with the tow bar and didn't have a place to put it,
it's actually perfect. Yeah, you could strap it here.
Yeah, it fits in that perfect triangle. Look. Oh, there you go. I meant to do all that. That's what I meant to do.
All
planned.
Years of planning and measuring.
You could see how off I am just slightly because this side's touching, this isn't.
Yeah.
But not by much for just eyeballing it. And now all you have to do is just put a little bungee over there. That's not going anywhere. I mean, it's not even going anywhere. So now, if we really needed to, we didn't have a place to put it.
Yeah.
We just have it strapped to the front, and now you have even bigger front end. But we'll take it off when we go off-roading because that's just extra weight. So that was a little happy accident right here, that this just sits in there, and then you just scratch up the paint a little. But now, yeah, so now this clears this whole thing. So when we're towing it with the truck,
and if it's up that high,
there's an issue.
Have bigger problems.
It doesn't quite. This side lines up fantastic. That side, not so much. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. Yeah, that's gonna wrap it up, right, Daniel?
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, we have more stuff coming out on this. We're definitely gonna do the front shocks.
Yeah.
We did do, for those, if this is your first video, those coils are obviously not stock. Yep. Allegedly, it lifted it. We didn't measure right to begin with. But the shocks are shot in there, and we need to do those.
But that'll wrap up our front bumper build, our reinforcement, boxing it in. We have a sealed compartment inside the Bug that's usable, which is what the goal was. And just popping this.
Just an easy pop out.
Nope, now it's not going to come out off. So there we go. Easy. So now like I said, we have our compartment storage. We'll just do something up front so it keeps dirt out, but we have a sealed area. So pretty excited about that because this was bothering me, and now I feel like it's a little more structure. So
for sure, more structure.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying around this long and watching us do this Baja build, especially Super Beetle. No one does them. So thanks for watching again. We'll see you in the next one, and it's pretty cool to be here.